I woke up on what should have been an ordinary Saturday morning, the kind where you sip your coffee, stare at your lawn for a minute, and pretend you're finally going to fix that crooked mailbox. But instead, I walked straight into the most surreal moment of my life. My house, my own home, wouldn't let me in. My key twisted into the lock like it had done 1,000 times before, but this time it didn't click, didn't turn, didn't budge. It felt like my house was rejecting me, like it had suddenly applied for a new owner and forgot to CC me in the email. And when I saw who had ordered the lock change, yeah, that was the moment everything snapped. The first time I tried the key, I thought maybe I'd grabbed the wrong one. The second try, I slowed down like a nervous safecracker, hoping the lock would magically behave. The third time, I just stood there in disbelief. My own front door was ghosting me. And then taped right at eye level, glowing like a radioactive school detention slip, was a bright yellow notice: violation of community standards. Property access temporarily revoked. Temporarily revoked. Like my home was a public restroom they were remodeling. And of course, right there at the bottom, the universe's biggest punchline: signed Barbara H., HOA President. If you don't know Barbara, consider yourself blessed. She's the type of suburban dictator who measures your mailbox height with a ruler, fines you for leaving your trash bins out 7 minutes past deadline, and patrols the neighborhood like she's auditioning for a low-budget cop show. But changing the locks on my house, that was a new low even for her. Fueled by disbelief, caffeine, and the kind of rage that gives you temporary superhuman confidence, I marched straight to her house. Well, marched is generous. I stopped halfway, tripped over her stupid garden flamingo, and arrived with grass stains and a righteous fury that even I didn't fully understand. She opened the door with that smug, sour milk-curdling smile she's famous for. "Oh, it's you," she said, like I was the 9th telemarketer that morning asking about her car warranty. "Yeah, Barbara, it's me, the guy who owns the home you just locked him out of. Care to explain?" She let out this dramatic sigh, the kind you'd expect from someone who just found out their favorite TV show got canceled. "You violated HOA guidelines," she said, "by repainting your front door an unapproved shade of blue. It disrupts community harmony." I stared at her, waited, blinked. Surely this was a joke. Surely there was a hidden camera. "Barbara, you changed my locks because of paint." She crossed her arms, pearls glinting like she was some kind of suburban Bond villain. "Rules are rules," she said, "and until the board votes on your compliance, you're not allowed inside." That was it. I laughed, hard, like the kind of laugh that borders on hysterical disbelief. "Barbara, it's my house. I pay the mortgage. You don't get to put my home in time out." But she just smirked, completely unbothered. "Maybe next time you'll think before you defy the HOA. Then she slammed the door in my face. My neighbors peeked from behind blinds like they were watching a live episode of Suburban War Zone. I tried calling a locksmith, but the moment I mentioned HOA dispute, the guy practically hung up on me. Apparently, HOA drama is the plague of home services. So I did what any sane person on the brink of insanity would do. I called the police. The dispatcher paused in actual silence when I said, "My HOA president changed my house locks," like she needed a moment to absorb the stupidity of humanity. But she sent someone anyway. 20 minutes later, Officer Ramirez arrived, built like a linebacker, but with the patience of a kindergarten teacher. "All right," he said, "tell me exactly what happened." I explained everything, step by absurd step. He blinked twice, then said, "So your HOA president illegally changed your locks because of paint." "Welcome to the Twilight Zone," I said. "HOA edition." He tried the lock himself, read the notice, and shook his head. "This is very illegal," he said. "Did she seriously sign this?" I pointed to Barbara's perfect cursive. He sighed. "All right, let's go talk to Miss Chairwoman." Barbara opened her door and instantly deflated at the sight of the uniform. Officer Ramirez didn't even raise his voice. "Ma'am, did you authorize changing the locks on Mr. Jenkins' property?" She attempted a sweet smile that looked more like a malfunction. "Well, technically the board—" "You," he interrupted, "are the board." Her face froze. My neighbors stepped onto their porches like they'd been waiting for this day since the HOA was founded. Someone brought popcorn. I wish I were joking. "This is unlawful entry and property interference," the officer continued. "You're going to unlock the door right now." She sputtered something about community standards. He stared. "Ma'am, what's against standards is breaking into someone's home." And that's when I realized I was about to get my house back. But Barbara never goes down quietly. She waddled back inside to retrieve the key, moving like a woman being escorted to her own execution. When she returned, she held a massive key ring like something that unlocked medieval dungeon gates. She jangled it dramatically, as if hoping one of them would disappear and get her off the hook. "Go ahead," the officer said, arms crossed. Barbara fumbled, sweating, muttered nonsense, tried the wrong key 3 times, complained about procedural irregularities, and then finally, click. The sound of sweet suburban justice echoed across the street. People actually clapped, cheered. I half expected someone to release balloons. I stepped inside, savoring the victory, until I realized what I'd walked into. There were HOA notices taped everywhere. My fridge, my stairs, my countertop. And I swear to you, my dog's water bowl. Unapproved container. "Barbara," I said, turning slowly like a horror movie character. "Did you enter my house?" She stuttered. "It was for inspection purposes." "Inspection of a dog bowl," Officer Ramirez said, raising an eyebrow. She blushed red enough to trigger a traffic stop. My neighbor Dave shouted, "What's next?" "Barbara, finding the goldfish too." The officer actually chuckled. Barbara retreated with her clipboard like it was a shield, shouting, "This isn't over," as she speed-walked away. And for a moment, I let myself breathe. I thought maybe the worst had passed. But that was cute of me. Later that evening, Officer Ramirez knocked again with a report copy. She may face charges, he told me. Breaking and entering, tampering with a lock. I blinked, stunned. Could justice actually win for once? Then he added, "By the way, my wife is part of your HOA. She says Barbara thinks she owns the neighborhood." I laughed so hard I nearly choked. Well, I said she'd just foreclosed on her reputation. For a few days, things went quiet, which in Barbara language is terrifying. Too quiet, like the eerie pause between lightning and thunder. Then one morning I heard construction noises outside. I opened my window and nearly threw my coffee. Barbara stood in my yard, clipboard measuring tape, and 2 men in bright orange vests digging a hole near my mailbox. I stormed outside. "Barbara, what in the HOA horror movie are you doing?" She looked up sweetly. Fake sweet, the kind of sweet that gives you cavities. "We're relocating your mailbox," she said. "It's too far from the curb. You're in violation of subsection B." Subsection B. I repeated slowly that you wrote last week. "Exactly," she said proudly. She really thought this was her comeback arc. But then one of the workers broke the spell. Ma'am," he said loudly, scratching his head. "I don't think we're supposed to be digging without the inspector." I swear you could hear the neighborhood inhale. "You know what, Barbara," I said. "Let's call him." "That won't be necessary," she snapped. I dialed anyway. 10 minutes later, the city inspector rolled up. He stepped out, looked at Barbara's little operation and said, "What exactly is happening here?" Barbara launched into a monologue about community harmony and curb alignment. The inspector blinked slowly, then said, "Ma'am, this is private property. You cannot order public workers to dig here without a permit." And that's when it happened. He stopped mid-sentence, looked down. His face changed instantly. "Is that a gas line marker?" he asked. Everyone froze. I mean frozen solid. The workers dropped their tools. Barbara's face drained of color so fast you'd think someone unplugged her. "1 more inch," the inspector said, "and you could have caused a serious gas leak. If shock could be bottled, Barbara could have supplied the whole state." The inspector took photos, called it in, and as if summoned by karma itself, Officer Ramirez returned. "Ma'am," he said, shaking his head, "I told you last week to stop interfering with this property." Barbara tried to defend herself. "I was protecting community. By causing a potential explosion, neighbors lost it." Dave yelled, "Hey Barbara, maybe use your ruler to measure your common sense." Even the officer couldn't hide his smirk. Then came the final blow. The inspector handed Barbara a bright orange citation. You are being fined for unauthorized excavation and endangerment, and your HOA's insurance will be contacted." "My insurance?" Barbara squeaked. "You claimed authority over the site," he said. "Therefore, you're liable." Barbara stumbled back like she'd been slapped by reality itself. A week later, our inbox is pinged with an email. Barbara is resigning as HOA president due to personal reasons. Sure, personal reasons. Otherwise known as the entire community watched me nearly dig up a gas line and get fined $5,000. Our new HOA president was none other than Dave, the same neighbor who heckled her during the lock fiasco. His first rule: no person may alter another homeowner's locks. Ever. And me, I repainted my front door. Same blue, brighter. Because after everything Barbara pulled, I wanted it to shine like a declaration of freedom. Sometimes I still see her walking her dog, pretending not to notice me. But every time she passes and that bold blue door catches the sunlight, I swear I can hear it, that faint little click. The sound of karma locking her out of control forever. And if there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's simple. When someone tries to control your home, your life, your peace, stand your ground. Bullies only win if you hand them the keys.